Round one. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
Hungry gamers.
Hello, and welcome, boys and girls, to the 191st episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by 8bit.net and those sexy legends at Audio Technica, but more on those guys and girls later. I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan 8bit. And joining me today, the Troy to my Arbed, you can find her at Miss Ali Hart. Obviously, we're talking about Miss Ali Hart. How you doing today?
Oh, good. A reference that's very familiar to me right now after rewatching Community.
Yeah, it's found a new home over on Netflix, and that looks like it's a global thing because it was on Stan here in the Australia channel for a while, but now it's jumped across to the behemoth that is Netflix. Netflix is actually valued. I don't know if you saw this during the week. Netflix is more valuable than Disney now.
No,
it is worth more than Disney, and Disney owns everything.
That can't be right.
Yeah, based off the share price, they are a couple of $1 billion more valuable than Disney right now.
Oh, is it because
Crazy.
Everyone's using the service right now?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wish I had some shares in Netflix. My goodness.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a lot, but
yeah.
I mean, it's going to decline after this whole shenanigan finishes. So I just can't believe anyone could beat Disney.
Yeah, it took me by surprise. I was just skimming the news articles and saw that pop up. I'm like, yeah, I'll give this a read, and then like it makes sense. They are the sort of the ultimate streaming platform as far as from a consumer perspective. Like a lot of other outlets have a crack at it, but Netflix sort of perfected that secret sauce well in advance, so they're doing really well. And yeah, to see them bigger than someone like Disney, who own Marvel, who own Fox, who own everything, come in second in the media stakes is something special for those Netflix shareholders. At least they'd be dancing around the fire, that's for sure.
I know why, actually, because I was looking for National Treasure, which is a Disney film, and it wasn't on Disney Plus. It was on Netflix.
Oh,
so that must be the reason why the shares are
It's just that Nicolas Cage sort of sprinkle of insanity, you reckon, sort of boost the share price.
Yeah. Got my investment.
Nick Cage. He's so great, but he's so unhinged, but you got to love him. You can't help but not love him, right?
Well, he's been in so many movies recently. If you look at his IMDb, he's been doing all these little side movies and stuff. Like a lot of people are probably familiar now with Mandy. The movie, yeah. And if you haven't watched it, I recommend listeners out there to just give it a watch. It is essentially probably what Nicolas Cage thinks he is in his head when he's playing action movies. It's weird. It's a little bit weird, but I still recommend watching it.
Yeah, who doesn't want to watch a revenge flick about demon biker gangs?
Hell yeah.
It is something. And I've got another movie on the download that I haven't watched from him yet too. It's called The Color of Space or something like that, which looks just like Mandy, but just even potentially trippier, if you can even say that.
Wow.
So that's another one that I need to check out. But yeah, he's pumping out these little art house indie schlock fests every couple of months, it feels like. So kudos to you, Nick Cage, for finally paying off those tax bills and that mausoleum and the albino snakes and everything else you've been wasting your money on.
Your metalhead son's wedding.
Yeah, bless him. Bless him. But yeah, so we're here, episode 191. Thank you each and every one of you listeners for popping on by. We've got a pretty healthy serving of news and infotainment slated for this episode, but I guess we could talk about what we've been playing. Sadly, we won't deep dive too heavily on probably the common item here on both our lists. For anyone that's listened over the last probably month or so, to no surprise, we've been playing a lot more Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yep.
I just wanted to say I'm sort of not really at the end of my rope. That's probably a bit too harsh, but
wow,
I'm getting a bit of Animal Crossing fatigue this week.
Okay.
Because I've sort of finished the mainline story, and now obviously you can just do whatever you like on your island. You can terraform it. You can build cliffs. You can build rivers. You can build waterfalls. You can put all your paths in. and it's just getting a bit overwhelming to know the best way to lay out the island, and seeing so many like finished snapshots or going to other people's islands and seeing how they are in the end game. And just the vision that they've already got of it, it's just like, man, this is too much for me. I don't know what I want to do. I don't have all the devices. I don't have all the bits of furniture to maybe deck out some of the stores that I want to create. I'm just like, you know what? I'm done for now. So I've been like playing it sparingly over the last few days.
You know what? There was an article that came out maybe a week or so ago talking about the disadvantages of Animal Crossing this time around because of how like connected we are on social media, and they're saying that there's a concept of like Animal Crossing like envy and like discouragement. So a lot of people are seeing, like you said, like what other people are achieving, and it's actually making them not want to play the game because they feel like they're not meeting up to a certain standard.
Yeah, that's me a little bit. That's me a little bit. And you know, it happens. Like it happens in any sort of creativity or creative-based game out there, like your Minecrafts, anything where you're building and being able to express yourself in the game in your own way, yeah, it can be met with jealousy or, you know, that FOMO from other people, I think. Yeah. So I get it.
I don't even think it's jealousy. A friend of mine, kind of like in our little Animal Crossing group, he said he didn't want to go to my island because the last time he went, it was already impressive. And he said, I don't want to go back because I don't want to feel like I'm so far behind.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, like, I didn't realize that it was like having that effect on people, like that they would see how organized or how like put forward someone else is, and then they themselves feel defeated. I'm like,
your big signs at the front of your island saying "Get good, you bunch of scrubs" probably doesn't help either.
I do need to take them down. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's not subtle. You walk in, you're like, oh, okay, yep, right in the guts straight away.
Yeah. Actually, I want to bring up one thing. I'm curious if anyone else is dealing with this. You know how if you befriend a character on the island, you get to start like, you know, you get to get like a personal nickname between them, and then they tell you like, oh, I'm thinking of changing my catchphrase. What do you think it should be? And the first time that happened to me, it was the jock character. So I like changed it to like, come on, bro. And I thought that was funny. And it was funny when he did it. But then after a while, the cute little pink hamster started saying, yeah, that's great. Come on, bro. And I'm like,
oh, no.
What the hell happened? And I actually witnessed what happened. And conversation between that jock character and another character on my island. The other character goes, I really like your catchphrase. Can I borrow it? And he's like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. I have all these characters on my island now saying, come on, bro. And I'm like, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this.
What have I done?
What have I done?
It's the village of the damned now.
Yeah, I've got an island full of dude bros now.
Yeah, I've started the process of sort of cycling out villages.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've rotated 2 out so far, in the hopes of trying to find a couple of the cooler, more rare ones. And in this journey of trying to weed out the crap, I guess you could say, as far as the less quality or lower caliber villages that are available in Animal Crossing New Horizons. I started researching Animal Crossing amiibo cards.
I knew you were getting there, yep.
Which is also it's like Pandora's box. And I went so deep on eBay and Amazon trying to hunt these people out. And my God, there is this black market currency going on the back of these cards due to the rarity, or I guess the community rated coolness of some of these some of these villages, and it just so happens some of the ones that I sort of took a little bit of a shining to. Yeah, they're not just $3 a card or whatever else. It's like, oh yeah, that's $50 or $100 or whatever else for a card. And the other thing that I could probably find out pretty quickly, but that card, is it single use? Do you know, or is it multi use? Like if I had that card, and say a group of us were in a room 1.5 meters apart, obviously social distancing, blah, blah, blah. If I use that amiibo card to bring in, let's say Meringue, who's this cute as hell rhinoceros that's one of the only few custom designs in it that's actually like based off a strawberry shortcake. Oh, and she's got like a little strawberry rhino horn. Cute as a button. All about her. If I use that card, could I then pass it around the circle for someone else to amiibo in, and then someone else, or is it or is it single use?
That's a good question, because like a lot of people would deal in those cards, but you would assume because a lot of people would be selling their cards that it should be like multi-use. Because I actually have a bunch of cards like from Happy Homemaker, which have these codes which are scannable, but it's in Australia, so I can't really access them. So, but I mean, people are selling the codes and they're selling like the little scannable chips and everything. So, no, that's a good question. And I don't know if they are restricting them to one scan each.
Yeah, I'm trying to read some stuff online right now about it too, and it's sort of conflicting. They're saying, yeah, they can be shared with a friend, but apparently when it does get scanned, some of that save data sort of hops to the next one. So maybe you can't invite the character to buildings, housing. Anyway, it's something ongoing, but hopefully they are multi-use, because I did buy a couple of them. I got a few of the cheaper ones that I just like the look of. So I spent about $30, I think, and I got like 10 cards just to have some options, just so I can weed out a couple of these bits of deadwood at Sharkfin Island.
I've actually had to stop people from leaving. All my characters are like, you know what? It's been fun, but I think I want to venture out and stuff. I'm like, no, you can't leave. So I've had the opposite effect. Although if you've come across Hamlet, let me know.
Hamlet? Who's Hamlet?
Hamlet's
Is he a pig?
No, he's a cute little hamster with a big star on his purple shirt, and his little catchphrase is "Hammy."
Yeah, he's pretty cute. He's got a little cowlick fringe as well.
I had him on Pocket Camp, and so
nice. I'll keep an eye out for little Hamlet. He does look pretty cute.
He's adorable.
The only hamster I've got is Clay, the little ninja hamster, but I'm trying to sort of show him the door not forcefully. I went and complained thinking that was the way to get the ball rolling. It's just not. They just get them to talk to you differently or change their clothes.
Ignore them.
Yeah. So I'll start the ignoring process and put an invisible wall up between me and Clay to weed him out, and then weave in one of these new amiibos down the line. Mm-hmm. So that's all I've really been playing this week. I've been watching a heap of stuff, but I hear that you've been persisting with Resident Evil 3. You actually worked out what to do with the fire hose.
Yeah. So we got over that hurdle thanks to the help of everyone. So finally moved forward, and then a few, I don't even know if that's actually technically correct, a bunch of times running into freaking Nemesis.
He is. What's your thoughts on him?
He's like, it's such a cool design, but the amount of times he just comes in to like ruin what you want to do, but then his actual mechanics, they seem bugged. They seemed like not clear, like there's been a lot of times where like I've gotten away from him. Do you want to hear what my second death, like I'm actually been pretty good. I haven't died a lot in playing this, but do you want to hear what my second death was?
I sure do.
So adventuring into the game, conquering everything, trying to head back to the subway, and feeling pretty good about how well I'm playing, apart from the fucking fire hydrant issue, but bygones be bygones. I died by a giant head.
Oh yeah, the big Charlie rolling head down the steps.
Yeah. My camera work and controller was stuffed, and then I got like jimmied in between the little middle section, and I got died. I got died. Good English.
I got died.
I got killed by the giant head. I'm like, that's my second death. That's how I die. And my first jump scare was the gunsmith.
Oh, Kendo.
Yeah. I felt comfortable being in the, gun shop. And then, he pops out. And I literally went, oh!
Yeah.
That's my
he
first
got me
jump
too.
scare.
And full disclosure, that giant head got me twice. The first time because I expected like some kind of just cutscene to jump in where Jill just naturally jumped out of the way. So I sort of stood there and it just went pancake me. Then the second time I ran down and then, tried to cut in the little breakout section of the steps and sort of stand there. But no, it gets you there as well. So that big giant Charlie head got me twice.
Yeah. Oh, also, I was having a lot of issues with my inventory, especially when you get down into the drains and the sewers and everything. And I'm like, man, I'm juggling. I'm going back and forth to the safe locations to move items in and out. And then like I finally got over that, and like I finally got to the subway, and like I was like, you know, eventually heading back to the subway before the, you know, changeover. And then my husband comes over and he goes, oh, see that little like rubbish bin that's on the, you can get rid of that. I have been carrying the bolt cutters the entire time.
Yeah, I get you, because like when they first brought that mechanic in previous Resident Evils, I'm like, maybe this is a swerve and I need to actually carry this just to be safe. Maybe they're sort of saying you can get rid of it, but maybe you might need it. So I remember hoarding some stuff in previous games for a while unnecessarily. Because it was usable like twice, I didn't question needing to get rid of it. And then I never really paid attention to the little garbage bin next to it. So I was just like carrying it around with me, and then I was having issues because you get like a grenade launcher and then you improve your shotgun, so then it takes up 2 slots, and then I'm like, juggling. So yeah, have you been getting the additional sort of pouches that you can get out of the safes, or the, you know, the little 3-digit pin code lockers and things? Yeah, I think I've found so far 2 extra pouches. Okay. To say where I am in the game, I'm now at the police station. Yep. So I've just gotten to the police station. I don't know how far that is. So you're playing as Carlos? Yes. Yep. Yeah. No, I know where you are. Yeah, and that's cool, because that's where you can use some of those previous pin codes from Resident Evil 2 for some of the locker combinations and stuff to get yourself some gear along the way. That doesn't help me. I haven't played it. Maybe just Google them. I might have to. All right. Yeah. But overall, now that like I've kind of progressed further, I've been advised that like it's not a terrible game. I'm just not enjoying it too much. Okay. But I'm being advised that like this was like a turning point in the Resident Evil where it kind of went action, apparently, where all the other games were more puzzle based. Yeah, so there was more puzzles in Resident Evil 3 in the original, and there was a few other things that they've taken out for this remake, but yeah, it was a change from 1 and 2, and then the Revelations games and Code Veronicas and stuff like that, where this, and then obviously number 4 was where it went pure action with a little bit of jump scare and some changes in the mechanics. But this was a big change of the formula, where it was mostly you were just getting pursued the whole time by Nemesis. Like you couldn't really feel like you could sit and catch your breath too much. And did that feel like it was for you at some times, where you're just hearing him yell his stars and he's, you know, shooting at you with a rocket launcher or whatever? Is he saying something? Is shooting his tentacles? Is he actually saying a word? Is he? I thought it was just going rah. Yeah, he does his rah, but occasionally you hear him say stars, and that was something that goes back to the original, because he was created, for lack of a better term, to hunt the remaining stars members that were going to uncover the plot from the mansion from Raccoon City 1. I mean, Resident Evil 1 in on the fringes of Raccoon City. Oh, okay, then. I guess I never paid attention. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I love his design concept. He looks really cool. It feels like an unnecessary, just like a brick wall while you're playing the game, because I haven't found him too challenging. Like, about the worst one was being on the rooftop and just doing unnecessary, just like circles and loops, and like it's even getting to the roof, I didn't feel any urgency. Like, I'm like, I know that if I just keep going, I'm going to get to the top. He's not following me up ladders. I don't know, like it was less about me being like, oh my god, Nemesis is on my tail, to like, oh, here he comes. Like, it's like, gonna have to deal with him, and then I've already gotten the concept that he's gonna keep coming back. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess maybe I was gonna just say, maybe because I know me killing him is gonna do nothing, it doesn't feel like much. Did you find yourself in these exchanges with Nemesis? Did you find yourself trying to shoot him to make him go down at all, or are you just not even wasting ammo and just sort of trying to dodge him and escape just off on foot?
Yeah, for the most part, I barely ever shot him until I got told if you shoot him, he drops stuff. But for the most part, yeah, I'm like, what's the point? So I just always, like, my plan was always just how to get further away from him and how to dodge him, like, timing-wise. Like, he makes certain noises that you know when you have to dodge. But, yeah, like, I don't think I barely ever shot him. I usually used, like, the electricity or the fire barrels or whatever to just slow him down until I got to that, obviously, the next point where he couldn't get there.
Yeah.
Except for that's what I thought was a safe room, and he just like comes into the
YOLO's his way in
doorway.
there.
Yeah, like, well, get the hell out. Yeah, but yeah. So I'm going to finish the game because I've put this much effort into it. But yeah, I'm really on the fence about it. I'm not too sure if this was the right game to kind of like win me over.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're about halfway through. If you're in the police station, you got, depending on the speed and how far you want, like how quickly you want to push through, you got 2 to 3 hours on a pretty normal run to go, I'd say, if you sort of know where you're going. So it's not too bad, not too bad a run, not too bad a playthrough. I know there has been some negative feedback about the length of the game. They do say it is a bit shorter, and some of the things that they've removed from the game has been met with some negativity, but that's something we'll talk about when we do sort of a full spoiler cast episode in the next week or two anyway.
True.
Yeah, so you've been watching some stuff.
Yes.
There's one here that you've been watching that I'm excited to talk about, and that's Lego Masters.
Yeah. You only just informed me this morning that there's apparently a Lego Masters America and Lego Masters Australia, which I didn't know.
Yeah, like I don't know if other regions around the globe outside of those two hubs you mentioned has done this concept before, but from what I'm aware of, at least for America and Australia, we were the first. So we did a season last year, and Hamish Blake hosted, obviously Hamish and Andy fame. He's the host of this thing. Season 2 actually starts tomorrow night, Sunday night for us here. So the second season of this airs from tomorrow. And God, it's such a great show, such a great concept.
Yeah, well, we got Will Arnett from
Which
Arrested
I don't mind.
Development. Yeah,
Obviously, and Lego Batman fame. So there's connections there.
By golly, he doesn't stop talking about that. I'm because you said it's Hamish. I'm assuming he's doing the very similar, or we copied the way that he interacted. Like there's like this kind of breakdown of reality programming where they kind of acknowledge all the tropes and like kind of say, and this is when, you know, and an intense twist would come in, and this is like a subtle, like, you know, nod to that you have only an hour left, and then the whole room goes red. Like there's a lot of breaking down.
There is a lot of that
the tropes.
here,
Yeah. Okay.
So with the American version, like we've got Hamish. Oh, in the Australian version, sorry, we've got Hamish Blake, who's the color commentator, the light-hearted host, and then we've got this Lego Master. He's got obviously a real name, but his name in the show is Brickman, and apparently he's like a certified. Can't remember if it's like a brickologist or Legoologist. He's one of a handful of people that are like Lego certified in the world. So he's like this Lego savant. So he's there as well to sort of be, I guess, the straight shooter and describe what's going on and talk about Lego in a more serious fashion as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, we, like, in our one, it's Will Arnett that's the host, and then he has two people that judge. One is, like, some guy who's done all, like, that architecture Lego. Like, he created all that, and then another woman who created all this other Lego stuff. So they're direct working for Lego.
Yeah.
So
it's so
we ain't
great,
got
though.
no brick man.
No brick man. You've got brick lady and brick other man.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to watch. Like, I love Lego. Anyone that's listened to this podcast or probably seen anything on social medias know that I got a bit of a soft spot for Lego, and yeah, it's just cool to see. And it probably goes full circle back to the Animal Crossing building of the islands, just seeing this creativity of people just flow like that, where they get a blank piece of paper or a blank, giant block of Lego and have to sort of carve that out into something. Like it's really cool to see. And I'm excited to check out season 2 when that airs on Channel 9 tomorrow night.
I've definitely wanted to, like, get into Lego, like start buying Lego after seeing it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know you could do this sort of stuff. So, but watching you, I know it's an expensive investment, so I might take a step back.
It's something I want to maybe buy some of the giant blocks of it or giant packs of it that don't really like the free build stuff, just so you can just have a heap of bricks and try and start building off the plan as opposed to following the guides. Like anyone can build anything off a manual, but when they say you need to build the Eiffel Tower, you know, and just sort of seeing people try and conceptualize that and bring it to reality, I think that's the cool part of it. Yeah.
It's amazing how people's brains work. I guess it's like mix of creativity and engineering. So it's good. Yeah. It's a good watch.
It really is. And might end up seeing bloody Rach on there next season. The producers have been at her on social media on and off for like a year saying you should do this. So we'll see if she decides to take the plunge and become a potential Lego master.
Ooh, go Rach.
Yeah. So you've been watching some Peaky Blinders too.
Yeah, that was like Peaky Blinders was always one of these shows that a lot of people kind of recommended to me, but unfortunately I always get like recommended certain stuff and then it never goes well, and then any opinion that person has in the future just goes out the window. So but I've actually jumped in because my husband was watching he's already watched season 1 and then he was watching season 2. He goes, do you mind if I just put this on? And because I was playing Animal Crossing, of course. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And then I got into it. Like, I really got into it. Like, like set in England, and there's like gangs and Irish gangs and like Italian gangs based in London, and like it's and the time period and like how like gritty it is, and just the acting and all the cast in it as well. Scarecrow's in it. I call him Scarecrow because I don't know what
Cillian Murphy. I heard he's really, really good in it.
He is so good in it. Like I know that I know that he played Scarecrow, but it's not like it's sitting there in front of me. He's a completely different character, and he plays it well. He plays like essentially like the gang leader of the Peaky Blinders, and he just has that right amount of like he has heart, but he's also brutal, but he's also very strategic, and like, what's his name? Friggin' Bane. Is it Bane?
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, he's in it as well. And it's just a great cast. So far it's been really compelling story, obviously enough, because I've just jumped in now. So I'm into season 3. And it's just getting better. And I didn't realize it was still going because I feel like it got recommended to me ages ago. And it's
still going today. Like they're still making new seasons now.
Yeah, well, like the last one I think was 2019. So
okay,
yeah. So if you haven't watched it and you like that kind of that timepiece where what was it called with the alcohol?
Oh, you're talking the Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, like it's
the Prohibition era.
That's it. So like it's around that timepiece, but in England. So it's pretty great. They talk about like the Irish gangs and the Crown getting involved. You got Churchill in there, so yeah, it's pretty good. They've done it amazingly well. Sam Neill's in it.
Nice.
He plays
I'd
a real
watch anything
prick.
with Sam Neill. I love him.
Yeah, but he plays a real prick. It's weird. It's really weird. So yeah, check it out if you like that kind of gang mobster stuff. It's really good.
It's been on my list for a very, very long time. Like, as you said, I could have sworn we heard about this show like 10 years ago originally. Yeah. Something like that. Like, I remember it sort of popped up during like peak Sons of Anarchy days, if I remember right. That was about when I remember hearing about it.
Yeah.
I've missed it. That, and also another period piece that I need to watch is The Nick. Have you heard of that one?
I have heard about that one.
Yeah. So sort of set, I think it's early 1900s, when medicine is obviously nowhere near what it is today. It's got Clive Owen as the lead, and it sort of just dives into how medicine and surgery, I guess, almost came to be. Like how there's a lot of trial and error and guesswork, and it's apparently like it's pretty rough to watch as far as they don't shy away from the camera when they're operating on people and testing out these primitive ways to save people's lives.
That actually sounds
so
really
I really
cool.
want to check that out too.
I might have to look into it as well.
Watched a couple of movies this week. The first one I want to mention is Underwater, which is a new sci-fi horror film It came out this year in the cinemas. Kristen Stewart,
That's
obviously
her.
Bella from Twilight, is the lead in this one.
How was it?
It's not bad. Not bad, I'll say. It's a pass.
Okay.
Like, picture Alien or The Thing,
Okay.
but at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, okay. Because I hate, like, I don't hate, but like I get really claustrophobic in deep ocean, you know, submerging kind of thing like that. So I'm wondering if that will actually have a good effect on me. Like, I'll genuinely be, you know, affected by the intensity.
I
the
think you
drama.
will. Like, the way it's shot is fantastic. Like, there's a lot of camera work, like, inside almost their deep sea helmets, so you sense this claustrophobia because the camera is like right there in their face, and it's very realistic as far as in these depths of the ocean. Like, you can't see much, the water's really murky, sound is limited, so there is this sense of tension and unease right from the jump. Like, the movie starts just like with a bang, and it doesn't really let up for probably the first act. Sets the scene well. So it's like this sort of drilling crew drilling into the bottom of Mariana Trench, which obviously is the deepest part of the ocean. It's about 10 k's down from sort of sea level, and yeah, they potentially unearth something when they're drilling down there, and then obviously bad shit ensues, and they need to try and survive and escape. So it's really cool. Like, it's a very small cast. There's only sort of 5 or 6 people that you get introduced to in the whole film.
Okay.
But it's really, really well shot, and you do get that sense of tension and claustrophobia being down in the ocean. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Was it a perfect film? No way. It apparently bombed at the box office from what I've seen, but mixed reviews from all the critics out there. But it's a decent film. It's worth a watch. I'd recommend checking it out at the very least if you're looking for some more horror. Because yeah, it scratched an itch, and it's something that's sort of unlike a lot of the other crap circulating around, like the influx of vampires and zombies and things. It's something different that's out there at the moment. So that was. Yeah, it's pretty good. It was better than what I watched earlier in the week, which was a movie called We Summon the Darkness, which is a movie. It stars Alexandra Daddario, the lady that became famous from True Detective in that naughty sex scene with Woody Harrelson, or she was in Baywatch, and what else was she in? A few other things, but she's like a young up and coming actress, and ties into, it's set in the 80s, and it's around sort of the heavy metal scene in the 80s, but there's also like these ritualistic killings going on around it as well. So it circulates around Alexandra and her two friends and these 3 males that all meet at this heavy metal concert, and then obviously there's a story that plays out. It's all right. It was just a pass for me. I thought it was going to be a lot cooler because I've seen some pretty positive reviews out there of it, but yeah, it was horror comedy is the way you describe it as. But it just missed the mark. Johnny Knoxville's in it, of all people, and he looks old these days. Very old. Like, you can see the drugs caught him, and have wrapped him in a blanket of witheredness over the years. But yeah, I'd certainly recommend Underwater over We Summon the Darkness. But two horror films that have sort of popped out and are available, whether it be legally or illegally, depending on how you source your content. Worth a watch. Definitely Underwater more than We Summon the Darkness.
I'm going to look at Underwater because I'm not going to lie. Like, when I saw the trailers for it, I was a bit kind of like curious because it had like Cloverfield vibes. And I freaking loved that movie. So I'm glad to hear that it's passable for you. So yeah, I guess it's probably one of those ones where I'm kind of sitting there and thinking, like, what should I throw on? That's a great movie to reference as well. Like, totally slipped my mind. That is a perfect way to describe this movie as well. Like, Cloverfield Underwater is another good way to describe what Underwater is. So anyone that's enjoyed Cloverfield, that original sort of unease of Alien, the first one, and then The Thing. OG The Thing, which is still one of the best sci-fi horrors ever made, in my opinion. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been watching. Gonna crack into Doom finally this week. Oh gosh, so
That's
many
the plan.
games, and I refuse to start.
So
any
many
of them.
games. So many games. But yeah, if you guys and girls need a break from gaming, obviously head on over to 8bitnation.net or 8bit.net or shop8bit.net to get your fix on all the 8-bit related content. We're talking podcasts, we're talking video content. There's the second part of the Try Not to Laugh challenge doing the rounds at the moment, so give that a look. It's something I think we need to do more of, and I'd love to get more people involved on another wave of that from within 8-bit and try and get a heap of videos and see how we fare as far as what we find funny and what we don't, and work out some kind of penalty for the one that laughs the most, because it's serious time of the world at the moment. But yeah, obviously check out all that 8-bit goodness there. Shop8bit.net obviously is the direct hub for our web store. We're talking t-shirts, hoodies, caps, bags, socks, underwear, towels, pillows, all that stuff you need to live the best isolation life you can. If you want to support us monetarily, obviously patreon.com/weare8bit. If you can throw some money behind us over there, that'd be great. But if not, just be sure to rate, review, subscribe us and all the other podcasts in the hashtag 8bit collective on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever your player is. Just be sure to throw some support and some feedback on there because it helps keeps the emotional lights on in our hearts. But let's get into some news.
This week's news headlines.
All right. We've got some this or that action going on today. And the first this. Justin Bieber's ex sues over likeness. Or that. Catch 'em all, but only from home. Miss Hart, you going this or you going that?
I don't care about Justin Bieber's ex, so let's go that.
Okay, so we're going that. And that comes from an article from Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer. And a big shout out to Jamie for shouting out this bit of news here over on our Discord. Obviously, head on over to 8bitnation.net for the direct access to our Discord channel. Jump on in, have a chat, have a laugh. But on to the article itself. After a month's hiatus, Pokemon Go will resume its regular community days with a lockdown-friendly play-at-home event. Abra Community Day, postponed from March, will now take place on Saturday, 25th of April, as well as double the time to catch Pokemon. Incense instead of lures will now last the duration of the event, letting you play where you are, whether there are Pokestops nearby or not. The event's bonus will be Triple Catch Stardust, and there will be a surprise in store if you take a snapshot of your Pokemon during the event. March's planned production of a mini $1 USD research story to coincide with Abra Community Day is also going ahead. Rewards for buying this include a Poffin, Rocket Radar, and 13,000 Stardusts, as well as another meetup with hunky Professor Willow. There will also be a heftily priced event box available for a one-time purchase of 1,280 Pokecoins to introduce the Elite TM, an ultra-rare item capable of giving a Pokemon a previously obtainable event or legacy move, so Shadow Ball from Mewtwo, for example. It's worth noting that one will also be given free if you achieve rank 7 or higher in this season of Go Battle League. So Pokemon Go, here I am thinking it might be dying due to everyone being stuck inside, but clearly they're finding ways to keep the dream alive on smartphones. And we've got a Abra Community Day taking place next Saturday, April 25th. Are you still dabbling? Are you jumping on the phone here and there on Pokemon Go, or is this sort of in the rearview mirror for you? What do you reckon? Is this gonna get the people back?
I don't know. Like the dedicated few will definitely jump on. Like it's a no-brainer for them. A lot of them already have like notifications on their phones or whatever to like let them know. So especially if they don't even have to leave the house this time, like they'll just do what needs to be done just to like, get the community exclusive. And it seems like there's a bit of a push for like microtransactions. So yeah, you got to get them dollary dues.
I thought that was a bit sneaky where you can buy this $1 USD research story thing for one. And obviously my radar as far as what currency equates to in Pokemon Go is way off, but I'm assuming 1,280 Pokecoins is probably no sort of laughing matter either. I'm assuming that's probably $10 maybe. Yeah,
that probably around that mark. It's been a while since I've actually done an in-game purchase because it honestly felt a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
The other thing that they kind of brought up is that like double time incense instead of lures. So the lures were the things that you actually had to attach to Pokestops, and then that's what you usually saw when you looked at the map, and there was like what kind of looked like cherry blossom petals kind of floating around a Pokestop. So instead of that, it seems like incense is going to have the same effect. But you only get so much incense. Not everyone has a bunch of incense. So
I like on that. I like that it lasts the duration of the event, because I think it was 30 minutes, if I remember right. Like, I know there's probably Pokemon fans listening to this that are big Go purists going, it's 60 minutes or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it was 30 minutes that the incense and lures lasted when you parked them on a Pokestop, as far as getting those Pokemon in. But because it's lasting the whole event, which I think from what I saw online, it's about 8 hours somewhere. So one incense to go 8 hours isn't bad. I think that's some good bang for your buck.
Okay, I thought it was kind of... I misinterpreted that. I thought that was like the changeover will last the event, not the actual incense. But yeah, that's good then. That's a good initiative. But I mean, in the end, they're going to still want people to access the store, because I mean, that's where they're making their extra cash. So keep playing, please.
Yeah, like I'd be curious to see what the attach rate is on this game still after. Like, it's been out now for a few years, and you can't fault them for what they've achieved. Like, it did bring gaming into the mainstream in a big way, as far as breaking down age barriers and even class barriers and things. Like, every man and his dog was playing this from all walks of life for a hot minute there. And it's still, I think it's still got a probably pretty big position in the mobile gaming community, but they're just trying to work out ways to keep people engaged now that we're all under, do not leave the house sort of self-lockdown and quarantine rules. So it's nice that they're thinking outside of the box and trying to make people go back to the game. But we'll see how this event goes next week with the Abra Community Day on Saturday, April 25. All right. The next bit of news. This. Esports for the elderly. A movie coming soon to a screen near you. Or that. Space Racer arrives next month. Now, I got to say, I'm struggling with trying to come up with nifty taglines for these articles all the time. So anyone cringing or sort of shuddering with some of these, bear with me, because I'm trying to make them vague and not give away what we're going to talk about straight off the bat. So there's some mystery, hopefully, with these headlines.
I mean, unfortunately with you, Space Racer arriving next month, I already know what that is. So, there's no like mystery that it's going to be about Star Wars Racer. So, and since I'm pretty much borderline elderly, let's go for the this.
Okay, so we're going for the this. And this comes via way of Patrick Stanley over at The Hollywood Reporter. French video game giant Ubisoft has teamed with Abby Cohn and Mark Silverstein, the co-writers and co-directors of the 2018 Amy Schumer-led comedy I Feel Pretty, to develop a film centered on senior citizens entering the world of esports. The film, which is currently untitled, is based on a 2019 article in the Wall Street Journal. The next generation of competitive gamers is... over 60? Which is written by Laura Parker, which focused on a group of seniors who formed a competitive esports team. Jason Altman, Senior VP and Head of Ubisoft Film and Television, and Margaret Boykin, Director of Film Development at Ubisoft, will produce the project. Ubisoft has ramped up film and television production recently, debuting its Apple Plus comedy Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet earlier this year, and revealing a number of animated television projects in the work based on and inspired by its catalogue of game titles. Additionally, the company is currently producing a film based on its Tom Clancy's The Division action franchise, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain for Netflix. So, we're getting a documentary or a pseudo film based off a bunch of silver foxes playing esports. Like,
I think that was
I would watch this.
Wasn't that the name of the team?
They are. Oh, that's right. They are the Silver Foxes, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that's what the esports team in real life was called. But I mean, a movie?
It reads like it's going to be a real movie, but I wouldn't be too upset if they just turned it into a doco and followed the actual real team around and did some interviews and watched them at tournaments and everything else. Like, at least that way you got some realness attached to it.
Yeah, I think that'd be a bit right. Like, I'm not too sure how funny this could be, I'm assuming it's funny. And look, I'm not too 100% on the co-writer and co-director attached to this either. But I think the underlining thing is just seeing that Ubisoft is really taking their hand in, producing a different media form. Like I said, I watched Mythic Quest and I loved it. I thought it was actually really, really good. And then seeing that they're taking, items from their catalog and turning them into like animated series, and then The Division as well with Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, I mean, these are sounding like really exciting things. And we've always criticized video game movies and TV shows. We were lucky with The Witcher turning out to be the hit that it was, but we've usually been pretty critical. The translation's never been too successful. So when you think that it's under an actual studio, like Ubisoft is, pretty much the top of the umbrella, you'd assume that you'd be a little bit more successful in translation.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, and you look at The Last of Us with HBO, like having Neil Druckmann involved, like having that direct conduit from developer or publisher to the film arm or television arm or whatever arm it is that's turning this into visual media is great. And I think it's essential. Like, instead of just seeing these other previous cash-ins, like I know we poo-poo on them a lot, but you think of Doom and Mario Bros and stuff like that. Like, I don't think Nintendo or id or Bethesda or whoever had much say in the overall direction of where those films went. So keeping it in-house and having someone on the panel that has a clue of how this should translate will bode well for it. So yeah, I'd love for it to be a documentary, because all I'm picturing is like, remember the movie Wild Hogs? With John Travolta and all them old diddies riding motorbikes. I just picture like that with this, but instead of them being bikers, they're esports players. And I sit there and go, man, that'd just be cringe. Like seeing old man John Travolta or like old Danny Glover or Danny DeVito or whatever, all sitting around like trying to learn how to play CSGO or whatever it is. Like, it'd be funny to start with, but I think 90 minutes of that would probably be a little on the nose. It would be tough to watch.
It's a tricky ground too, because the level of comedy where it goes from funny to insulting is probably going to be very, very fine. So
yeah,
good luck to them.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with this more. Like, obviously there hasn't been much other news or information funneled out into the world on this, but yeah, they've teamed up with a couple of writers and directors to start framing this out. And we'll see what happens with this iteration of the article from Laura Parker. But I'd still watch it regardless. But I just know it'd be more enjoyable from my thought as a doco, sort of seeing the real people and the real life. And, old people for the most part can be pretty damn adorable and very endearing. And it's nice to see and hear the stories and get a bit of truth about maybe where they came from, as opposed to having, a Danny Glover or an old man crazy John Travolta reading a script, faking his past and then talking about games. So
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I think that The Division might get parked for a little while, just with how things are. Like, obviously there is freezing going on with film production and what have you, but even once all the COVID stuff goes away, maybe they will shelve this for a bit, because it is very much a parallel to real life right now.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they got some free sets if they ever want them, but yeah, no, they'll probably. Yeah.
And a quick sort of nod to that headline, which was Space Racer arrived next month. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is making its way to the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 on the 12th of May. It's $15 US, so I'm assuming it's going to be anywhere from $20 to $30 Australian.
$400.
Yeah, or $99.95. But it's getting remap controls. It's got trophy support for PlayStation 4, and it's enhanced with 4K visuals.
Hell yeah!
But with the original model, so we'll see how that melds together into the game. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. They've got a ton of new tracks, ton of new characters. So yeah, it's making its way out. It's crazy that it came out in 1999, and here it is in 2021 or 2020, make its way to the Switch and the PlayStation 4.
I still have my Nintendo 64 cartridge.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So all right, the last this or that. Supposed cousin of Nigella Lawson sued by publisher. Or that. Superhuman Special Agent gets remastered, now with higher fidelity cloaking.
I mean, I've done 2. Why don't you get to pick one?
Okay, so I'm going to go with that, which is obviously Superhuman Special Agent gets remastered, now with higher fidelity cloaking. This comes via way of Wesley Yin Poole over at Eurogamer. Following Crysis's remastered sudden appearance on Crytek's official website earlier this week, the developer has now shared more in the way of specifics, alongside a summer launch window on PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. According to Crytek, the enhanced version of its acclaimed first-person sci-fi shooter will focus on the original single-player campaign. Crysis's multiplayer mode shut down in 2018 and doesn't appear to be returning, and will feature remastered graphics and optimizations. More specifically, Crysis Remastered, which is being co-developed by World War Z Studio and porting specialist Saber Interactive, will include high-quality textures and improved art assets, a HD texture pack, temporal anti-aliasing, SSDO, SVOGI, state-of-the-art depth fields, new light settings, motion blur, and parallax occlusion mapping. Very, very high-end wording there, which probably goes over a lot of people's heads, some of that mine included. Particle effects will be added where applicable, and there's also talk of volumetric fog and shafts of light, software-based ray tracing, and screen space reflections. Who doesn't love a shaft of light? Exactly none of this is shown in the teaser trailer accompanying Crytek's official announcement, but hopefully we'll get some proper eye candy soon. Crytek launched in November 2007 and won plaudits for its freedom and impressive visuals and tech, with the steep specifications of the PC version spawning the "but can it run Crysis" meme. Digital Foundry looked back at the game for its 10-year anniversary and revealed why Crysis is still melting the most powerful gaming PCs all these years later. So Crysis, a game that came out 13 years ago, I really enjoyed it. Can confirm the graphics were mildly impressive way back then. I haven't touched it on a recent rig. I played it on PC, and then when it sort of shifted onto the Xbox way back when. But yeah, very, very big surprise. I didn't expect to see Crysis in any form redone in 2020. But what do you reckon? Did you play Crysis? Have you much of a fan of the franchise?
No, I've never touched Crysis actually. So this could be my first gameplay of it if I actually jump on board, because it's on the Switch. And the Switch is currently my favourite gaming platform at the moment. Can we just acknowledge that this game came out in 2007 and the multiplayer got shut down in 2018?
That's impressive from a support perspective. Like, you look at a lot of these other multiplayers, some of them close within 6 months. And yet this is a game that no one's been talking about. Like, I even think back to 2018, 2017 or whatever else. No one I knew or in our circles was playing Crysis or playing Crysis multiplayer, yet it was getting supported for 11 years.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I saw a lot of, I guess, upset people thinking that they were getting a new Crysis based on the little teaser. I think it was actually just a tweet.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and then so
just the eyes was the eye tweet from Crytek themselves. Just the eye set, like the I don't know what you described them, that little eye emoji as.
Yeah,
you know, the two big eyes.
Yeah, but and then it got later revealed that it's going to be remastered. So some people were a bit disappointed, but I think in the end they're just happy that they're going to be getting it back in the a more detailed version too. If the graphics were so amazing way back when, and they're just going to adjust and make it look polished for the new age, I don't see any disappointment with that.
Yeah, like, I remember the games were very impressive from a visual standpoint, and using your nano suit, it was what you're equipped with, and you had a heap of abilities, like your cloaking abilities, jump, strength, all this kind of stuff. Like, it was really cool. Like, they really perfected that predator cloaking vision in the game. And the first game, if I remember right, I think you were sort of somewhere in Asia, like the Philippines or something, where there's like this big alien structure thing that gets discovered, and you got to go over there as like a US Army specialist with this nano suit on to try and work out what's going on. And yeah, you've got your futuristic weapons and your cloaking and everything else, and fight your way through that, like whether it be human enemies, alien-like enemies and whatnot across the island. So it was this crazy contrast of space future technology with this really lush sort of island world melding together, and I remember it just blowing my mind on the consoles way back when. So I'm keen to give it a look. I wonder how it's going to translate onto the Switch. Like, because imagine if like it just literally melts switches in your hand, like you pick it up and just like just melting clock sort of moments in your hands. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see. Like, that Crytek engine's been used in a lot of games, and it was very well known for the graphical fidelity and the texturing and the high level of detail that they could generate with it. So most recently, I think it was The Hunt was the most recent game that Crytek released, which was a great little first-person shooter, really, really different to a lot of the other shooters going around, sort of team-based, where you've got to take down a big bad monster, set in sort of the early 1900s, which was kind of cool. But yeah, Crysis making its way back. Obviously, there was I can't remember if there was one or two sequels. I know there was a second Crysis, but I don't know if
there was a
third
second
one.
Crysis. Yeah. Can I just divert a little bit? Do I win points from my hot takes at the start of the year? You know how we kind of gave little hot takes on what we thought was going to happen? Mm-hmm. And by accidental default, I won the whole, developers doing their own online presentations instead of E3. So that I kind of won that one. And the remasters are kind of coming back as well. So that's 2 for me.
Yeah, you're batting 100 at the moment. Like, yeah. You're like the Oracle this year. You foresaw everything.
Yeah, I probably should have stopped the virus, but oh well.
It happens. You can't do everything.
I did like The Division, so.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it's coming out summer US or summer for the Northern Hemisphere. So it's going to be out in the next handful of months. So we're looking at June, July, August-y window for release on all platforms. So PC's getting the remaster, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and the Switch. So I'll give it a look. It's not on my high priority list, but I really enjoyed the game way back when. And yeah, maybe it sort of will play and look even better, like from some of the initial stills and a couple of bits of footage doing the rounds. Yeah. It does look really nice. Really nice. And that island life, with the juxtaposition of aliens and sci-fi technology is really cool. So we'll see how we go.
From one island to another, from Animal Crossing to Crysis.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's move over to the main course, and this one was highlighted by our boy Benny, aka at the Spawny13 on the Twitters, over on our Discord. And Jason Schreier is leaving Kotaku, citing Go Media as reason. This comes via way of Gene Park at the Washington Post. So there is a bit of detail in this article, so strap in, listeners. Jason Schreier, a journalist known in the video game industry for covering working conditions inside tight-lipped game development studios, announced his resignation from video game news site Kotaku this past Thursday. Citing dissatisfaction with the ownership and direction of parent company Go Media, Schreier will soon take a position with another company he declined to go into on detail. It is the latest of several Kotaku employees to depart the company while invoking Go as the predominant reason. Kotaku has been owned and operated by private equity-backed Go Media since 2019, when it was sold by Univision, along with other sites formerly under the Gawker banner. The site network, which includes Gizmodo and The Onion, as well as the now-defunct Splinter, to name a few, has gone through a series of tumultuous ownership and business changes, most notably after the landmark Hulk Hogan invasion of privacy lawsuit that shut down its original ownership in 2016. I've been through a lot with this company. Since 2012, we've been through a whole lot of management shifts and resignations and firings and drama, Schreier told the Post. I've been through a lot of cataclysmic shifts because it always felt like, through it all, we were guided by people who always cared about journalism, and unfortunately, I'm not sure that's the case anymore. Schreier, 32, said his breaking point was when Deadspin fired senior editor Barry Pachetsky for disagreeing with a management mandate to stick to sports, which angered journalists on staff who had cultivated a reputation for being aggressive, off-color reporting and eccentric commentary. They argued it would betray the online readership and community born out of their past work. Schreier wasn't the only editor to leave Go Media this past week. Just Wednesday, Gizmodo editor-in-chief Kelly Bourdet announced she was resigning. In a statement to the Post, a Go Media spokesperson said, "We thank Jason for his contributions to Kotaku and wish him all the best in his next venture." Over the years, Schreier has gained acclaim and notoriety for breaking numerous stories about labour practices in the gaming industry. His stories help bring wider scrutiny to crunch culture and overwork inside large video game studios and publishers. Even rabid critics of Kotaku's news coverage generally concede that Schreier's reporting has been important to the industry. He's also built a reputation of breaking insider-fueled stories packed with preliminary information about games. Schreier's stories often cause large companies to steer abruptly into damage control mode, sometimes releasing press statements and posting blogs in direct response to his pieces. Minutes after Schreier posted a 2019 report on alleged mismanagement and overwork at BioWare for its game Anthem, the company put up a defensive blog post that called his work unfair. In 2018, Schreier reported on how 60-hour work weeks had become the norm at gaming giant Rockstar Games, makers of the blockbuster Grand Theft Auto series. For one of his final pieces at Kotaku, Schreier published a follow-up about how Rockstar's work culture has improved since the issue was brought to light. Schreier said his biggest concern about the industry going forward was the lack of money flowing to games media sites, many of which are reliant on freelance writers. I wish there was more money in the field to be doing the kind of reporting work that I think is really essential in keeping the gaming industry healthy, and that the people in power in games are held accountable, Schreier said. Schreier declined to provide specifics about his next job. However, he will be joining a podcast with former and current Kotaku staffers Kirk Hamilton and Maddie Myers called Triple Click, which will live under the Maximum Fun Podcast Network. So Jason Schreier, gone from Kotaku. In my opinion, he's probably the biggest or one of the lead dogs or lead figures in games media. Like, he was constantly breaking stories ahead of the curve on delays and big breaking sort of announcements. He was always on the front line. Like, he was the man in games media, and now he's leaving Kotaku. What do you think about all this?
Jason's been, like, I think a very important part of just the gaming industry altogether. A lot of the time we talk about how gaming has developed, especially in the public eye, and, you know, how it makes generally, like, it tends to make more money than a lot of the media outlets that are out there. And I feel like with Jason's reporting, it added this next level of seriousness about the industry. So him being such a, you know, strong-willed, like, very determined, very, like, articulate as well, like him dealing with, like, online trolls and all those people as well, but just, like, you know, getting the stories out there and being, like, what I would probably call a true journalist, especially in the gaming industry. I really felt like he put a mark on just how serious the gaming industry is and how seriously it should be taken, and that there is a need for that level of journalism, because those stories he broke, like, especially the crunch, a lot of the union stuff, like, it's been really important and has, you know, put a light down on that culture, especially within the gaming industry. Like, we're all familiar with it now. We know it's a problem. And his work is very important. And, I mean, Go Media have lost someone pretty prestigious in the industry.
Yeah, like, I'm curious to see how Kotaku come back from this, because I'd say he was almost the person or the main reason for traffic going to Kotaku, because, you know, Kotaku, outside of his long form pieces where, yeah, he was breaking some pretty serious stories or some very, very unique or impressive stories before anyone else, outside of that, the rest of their content you can find anywhere. And, you know, Kotaku, and I'm not sort of poo-pooing the staff that are staying on board there, and there is a lot of great talent still over there, but he was the standard bearer for Kotaku and the games media in general. So it's a huge loss for them. Huge loss. And, you know, the higher ups at Go Media, they'll probably brush it off, because you could sort of see in just how this sort of outlet's changed since they've been taken over by them last year. They're spiraling downwards, so we might see a massive retool on Kotaku and Gizmodo and the other outlets even more off the back of this, and maybe they are going to double down on sports-centric media as sort of something that they wanted to sort of focus on. So huge loss for Kotaku, a huge gain for wherever he ends up next. I'm really curious to see where he signed on with moving forward. Like, obviously he's got Triple Click, this podcast that's part of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, which is great. So we'll hear his voice more regularly in podcast forms, but no doubt he's jumped on with another reputable news outlet for, you know, a good sum of money and probably a good sum of power they'll have there, and flexibility. And it just seems like it came down to culture was the big thing. Like, they cut a lot of good people from Kotaku over the years, and Jason seemed to be very close with some of these gentlemen and females that will let go or resign themselves. And he just went, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. There's a difference of opinion and culture and direction for the company. So he's just doing what's best for him, and fair enough. Like just like a lot of these other people that have jumped ship from Kotaku or the Go Media family. So yeah, I'm curious to see. But yeah, he's been breaking everything for many years, and I never knew he was this young, to be honest. I thought he was a bit older. Like you look at him and he looks like an older fella. Like no disrespect to Jason Schreier, but he does look like an older gentleman. But he's only 32. And,
he looks how old I thought he was.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I thought he was like, back into
what,
the 30s.
is he like 22? Like
Yeah. But, he's been kicking around like since 2011 in the space. And the last several years, he has been the person in games media, just knocking down doors and bringing to light these stories and these bad working conditions and whatever else. So I don't know if that's going to continue in his new role. Is he going to shift into something more creative? Who knows? Like, I'm assuming he's got a passion for what he does, because the amount of hours that would go into putting those types of pieces together would be insane. Like, we're talking probably hundreds of hours of interviews and research and back and forth to try and sort of formulate those articles. So
yeah, I mean, he's developed himself with a level of integrity that, like, I hope he does continue doing this sort of stuff, because he's actually, established himself also as a pillar for, the people that are really roughing it out in the gaming industry. Like, a lot of people approach him because obviously he has, like, developed himself to be, he's not on this side, he's not on that side, he's about hard facts and people being like treated like people kind of thing. So, obviously a lot of people, a lot of devs or a lot of people working hard and being mistreated felt like he was a person that they could go to with information so that like that the bad stuff could come out. So I hope he does continue with this kind of like reporting that he does.
I could see, like, just sort of pie in the sky spitbally type of stuff. I could see him almost go down a Danny O'Dwyer style concept where he goes in and interviews developers or has stories and shifts everything to a crowdfund type of deliverance of these pieces, like does long form video essays and things on some of these situations and stories that are happening out there. I'd very much like to see that, because he's got the contacts to make it happen. He knows people everywhere.
He does, but like he's just recently started a family, so I feel like he'd probably want a little bit of a security net underneath that. It's more about like if he has gone to another company, who's picked him up, because I don't know if he gives off a liability kind of aura with his reporting. So like companies, let's just say like IGN, like would they try and pick, although I don't know if they have the money for someone like him, but would they pick up someone like him at the risk of like a negative, possible,
It's very true. Like, for all the good he did for the industry and continues to do for the industry, he would make a lot of enemies or a lot of rivals from these companies where he's breaking the stories about. Like, I doubt he's on the best friends list at Rockstar or at Naughty Dog or wherever it might be, because he is bringing to light the negative aspects of these companies. So
yeah, exactly.
I'd be curious to see, if someone like a mainstream IGN who have a lot of relationships with those developers and publishers would want to attach themselves directly to Jason Schreier. But so it is a bit of push-pull, isn't it? Where there is the risk that you are going to get journalism that you won't get just about anywhere else in games media, having him on your staff. But at the same time, would you lose some relationships or partnerships or sponsorship opportunities with developers or publishers by having him on your staff? So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds, and no doubt we'll hear over the coming weeks or months where he's decided to plant his flag moving forward. But yeah, as you said, I think he's got a young bub and he's focusing on writing his second book, and he's got this podcast. So he's got plenty of stuff to keep him busy and keep him occupied from now into the future anyway. But yeah, we'll see where he lands. But big loss to Kotaku, I think, is the big thing. It's huge hole to fill at Kotaku, and I'm very curious to see what happens with them moving forward.
Yep.
All right. So let's shift into the final segment of the podcast, and I'm hoping this is the right soundbite.
New releases and events.
Things we wanted to bring to light for this upcoming week. As far as the games coming out this week, I wanted to highlight two, both releasing on the 24th of April. First one, Trials of Mana, making its way to the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Classic JRPG that I played a hell of a lot way back on the SNES in the 90s. And the other one, PlayStation 4 exclusive, Predator Hunting Grounds, gets released on April 24. So I am keen as a bean to jump into the boots of Predator or the boots of the American military to try and survive and escape the ultimate hunter. So there's two games that I wanted to highlight, and also another game, but one you won't be playing, but one you'll be listening to. Episode 1 of the Hungry Game Show releases this week. So the debut episode of the Hungry Game Show, it will be available on the same Hungry Gamers podcast feed. So you don't need to find it and subscribe on a new player. It's going to be embedded right here on the Hungry Gamers RSS feed. So you'll see episode 1 drop later this week. And it stars Salim the Dream Abraham making his long-awaited return to podcasting. And we talk a ton of Tekken 7. So let's see if he is the king of Iron Fist trivia or if he's just another poser. So yeah, they come out this week. Anything you wanted to bring to light as far as new releases and events, or anything coming up this week you wanted to give reference to?
I actually wanted to say that the new XCOM, I'm going to butcher how to say that, Chimera Squad?
Yeah, Chimera Squad.
Yeah, it actually looks really cool. The collaboration between humans and aliens working together. The trailer looked really cool. It was a different kind of stylized approach that I haven't really seen before. So I'm actually going to look at that. So
okay.
If anyone else is an XCOM, purist, they'll probably already be on it. But anyone else that's been interested, just check the trailer out. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it's getting some positive press out there, and it looks more of the same of the XCOM sort of archetype, but with a couple little changes, as Ali mentioned there. But I've never played an XCOM game. I'm not a big sort of RTS type of dude, but there is a lot of people out there that love it. So no doubt there'll be some people queuing up to pick that up on PC on April 24 as well. So three games there of note that are coming out this week, and obviously the next episode of the Hungry Game Show. And also the next episode of the 8-Bit Cast drops this week as well. So it's a big week for podcasting content. You can get early access to that for $1 at patreon.com/weare8bit. But otherwise, if you can't do monetarily, as I said earlier, it'll be out on the normal RSS feed 2 weeks later. So don't feel obligated to throw some money behind us. It's just something that you want to do, if you can do, to support us during these crazy times out there. But yeah, this has been episode 191 of the Hunger Games podcast. Miss Hart, you got anything else you want to say, or are we getting on out of here?
Yeah, we are getting on out. This girl is hungry. What is that?
I thought that was the outro button.
You have to keep that now. But yeah, I think that's a no greater cue than to end the podcast.
I'm hoping this is the outro button. Oh, no.
Please keep this all in.
Maybe this is the outro button. There's the outro button. So yeah, this has been episode 191 of the Hungry Gamers podcast. Ended in style. But until next week, Happy Nation, much love.
You've been listening to
Stay
the
hungry.
Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.